So far, the Flat Earth documentary Level With Me has been dissected into 3 parts and thoroughly debunked on this channel. We want to make sure every single part of it is covered and we leave no stone unturned. Today is part 4, there are still many parts to come, but for now, let's get this show on the road. Hello all and welcome along to another episode of Flat Earth Friday with me, Simon Dan. Thank you very much for joining me. Before we begin today, a huge thank you to the sponsors of today's video, Raycon. Raycon's everyday earbuds look, feel and sound better than ever. And they're priced just right. You get quality audio at half the price of other premium audio brands. Raycon's intelligently designed earbuds have been specifically modified through countless design iterations to seamlessly fit the curvature of the human ear, big or small, so they do not hurt after listening for an extended period of time. And I can vouch for that. Since I've been injured and can't run, I've been taking the dog on some mammoth dog walks, sometimes for hours, and the Raycons do not hurt at all. They sit completely flush in your ear, so when you're laying on a pillow, for example, you won't feel them when you're asleep. Some nights whilst I was on holiday, I used my Raycons to drown out the noisy aircon. On top of that, they're durable, with sweat and water resistance. Built to withstand the occasional left in pocket and gone through washing machine experience, being left outside in the rain, or an accidental drop into a pool or puddle. It's no wonder Raycon's everyday earbuds have over 78,000 5-star reviews. Now, school's back in session, which means Raycon is having its annual back to school sale. For a limited time only, you can get 20% off site-wide and free shipping. Just go to buyraycon.com/SimonDan to get your discount now. Right then, back to today's video, which as we know is the 4th installment in the Flat Earth documentary Level With Me debunking. Now if you remember, we were with Flat Earth millionaire who was about to have an altercation with a truck driver. Here we go.
They're just orbiting by themselves.
Or they're shot up with rockets.
Yeah, they're shot up with rockets. That's all
it makes
is.
more sense on a balloon, so we're like, okay, well, this makes sense now.
Unless they got some top secret stuff I don't know about.
You don't know about any of these satellites without the balloons?
So a guy in a truck says he doesn't know about satellites that don't use balloons, and that means what? You sort of zoomed in on him because you thought it was a win, right?
The idea that you would need some type of box that free falls in orbit around a ball is really just a fiction of imagination. That we don't need that at all. We don't utilize that.
We don't utilize that. There are currently 7,700 satellites orbiting Earth as we speak. You can see them all the time in the night sky. You just need to pay a little bit of attention.
Satellites have been on balloons since the 50s, and they've always been on balloons. They just lied about putting them in space. There's no evidence at all of satellites in space.
No evidence. So I suppose this doesn't count. Or this. Or how about this? But yeah, Eddie, no evidence.
They would have to have a propulsion system. Even if you believe that the Earth is a ball, you must also believe that satellites cannot propel themselves without a source to thrust. Okay? We know that they don't have engines on them. What's making them go around? They don't make sense.
Wow, someone doesn't understand physics. Now, due to the lack of air in space, which means no resistance of course, once a satellite has been propelled to orbital speed by the launch, it no longer needs any fuel. Now, some satellites keep a small amount of fuel on board for minor corrections, but that's about it.
Then you find out NASA owns 98% of the helium. Then you find out all these satellites that crash have balloons attached to them. Then you can deduce they actually float these satellites up with balloons. It's that simple.
No, you can deduce that a weather balloon has fallen. You can't say that no satellites exist because a weather balloon fell from the sky.
If all these satellites are moving 17,500 miles an hour, some are moving this way, some are moving that way, it's common sense. There's 50,000 of them. They're supposed to hit each other eventually, but none of them hit each other. Come on, guys, wake up. There's no satellites. There's no proof of them. The only proof we have are things floating on balloons.
Someone doesn't understand how big the Earth is and how small satellites are, do they?
Arthur C. Clarke in the 50s wrote a book theorizing about satellites falling around on Earth in an endless fall. Shortly after, we all of a sudden had satellites falling around the Earth. Now think about it. The Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. It's orbiting in an elliptical orbit, speeding up and slowing down at 66,000 miles an hour. It's chasing the sun in another curved orbit, and we somehow have geostationary satellites. That's a satellite that stays above the same plot of land. So it's mimicking the spin, it's mimicking the orbit, it's speeding up and slowing down and staying over that same plot of land, and it's just falling in an ever-ending fall. That makes absolutely no sense.
Because it doesn't make any sense to you, then you think it can't be possible. Well, it makes sense to me, Dave. If that's the criteria for its existence, then there you go. But I'll tell you why it makes sense to me. Conservation of momentum. The satellite retains Earth's orbital velocity as it is launched off Earth's surface. Of course, everything on Earth is orbiting the sun as well as Earth. And you can't even get your definitions right, David. What you described there is a geosynchronous orbit. Now, this means it orbits the Earth approximately once per day, which means it appears to stay above a certain section of the ground below. A geostationary orbit is a geosynchronous orbit with no inclination. So that means it lies above the equator.
Now it's openly accepted that they're on balloons, but they're making it seem like it's a new thing. And this is the new way we're gonna launch satellites, is on balloons, and it's cheaper and it's just better. Like, we don't need them space ones no more. You know, people are starting to figure it out. That's why they're going back to balloons.
Literally no one has ever said that particular sentence or any derivative of it.
And majority of all the transmissions we use for our cell phones or quote-unquote satellite TV are all ground towers. They all send transmissions from the ground tower to tower, admittedly at high elevations. And of course we have underground and undersea cables that make up 99.9% of all transmission. So this just a facade in people's mind that you have little metal boxes flying around giving you all of your data. None of that is real.
I don't think anyone's ever said that traditional mobile phones use satellites to communicate. I'll tell you what does though. This watch. Before I go for a run, I need to wait for a GPS signal. If I'm in a big city or a forest, it takes longer, so I have to wait for a satellite. Once a satellite passes over my certain location, I'm connected and off I go.
Oh my god, I'm calling my brother. That is freaking beautiful! Okay, there you have it. Artemis fly. Wow, it's flying right now.
Whether it's the ISS or the rocket launch, the second someone sees it with their own eyes, they think it's real.
How dare someone say that something they see with their own eyes is real?
This is freaking amazing! Oh, there it is. What the heck happened? The reason that you can always find a video of a rocket from NASA taking off and then slowly making a U-shaped arc is not because it's going around the ball and going to the other side or going out into space. It's because shortly after these rockets that are funded by your tax dollars take off, they only have a certain amount of time before they crash back to the Earth because they run out of fuel.
Well, they do run out of fuel, but they're usually in orbit by then. And the reason they appear to curve like that is because they want to reach an orbit round the Earth, not fly off into space. Let me show you what I mean. Now, I've showed this a few times before on this channel, but it's worth seeing again. This is a rocket launch captured from the ISS. You can see here exactly what I mean.
It's all made up. So what really happens is they launch them near the ocean, in Texas or in Florida. They will never launch a rocket from the middle of the country.
And that's really funny because the Soyuz rocket, which has been taking astronauts to the ISS for years, literally launches from the middle of Kazakhstan.
It won't make it to the ocean. It'll crash on dry land. Okay? So NASA has to launch rockets from Texas and Florida because it's right by the water. If they wanted to launch a rocket from Little Rock, Arkansas, it wouldn't even make it to Texarkana.
So when they launch rockets in Cape Canaveral, Florida, or in Houston, we have a problem. Yeah, the problem is you can't get past the firmament.
The problem is, Santos, that NASA don't launch rockets from Houston.
In 1962, 7 years before they faked the moon landing, Operation Dominic began. A series of 31 missiles were shot straight up into the sky to test how high humans can actually reach. They quickly figured out not far at all.
It seems that whenever they were shooting these missiles up into the sky, they were actually interacting with different layers of this plasma field or this electromagnetic phenomena, and it seems to have fluid-like properties. As it actually hits a certain portion of this force field, if you will, it begins to disperse and seek equilibrium based on the impedance of the electromagnetic layers.
What a load of word salad, Whitsit. Operation Dominic was a nuclear test program, and most of those were dropped by B-52 bombers. Total nonsense.
Why is it when we review this footage that these things are exploding? It looks like they're hitting a barrier.
Because they were nuclear weapon tests.
Testing the strength of the firmament, and they weren't able to penetrate it.
What's going on there? What is this? In my opinion, I think that they were trying to find a way to possibly get out. There's a firmament above us.
So everything is as above, so below. Obviously, many people are becoming aware that there's a firmament above.
No one is becoming aware. Well, flat earthers believe this, but they don't count.
That many people are now starting to realize is impenetrable.
No matter what you do, you can't go straight up in the air and keep going.
An interesting rocket launch was the amateur Go Fast rocket. They gave us something that NASA and SpaceX never gives us, an uninterrupted feed from their camera. If you watch a NASA launch or a SpaceX launch, there's 4, 5, 6 cuts before it even clears the launch pad. Gave us an uninterrupted 72 miles, I think. Went up, and all of a sudden it went kerplunk, it hit something.
It went up, and it appears to have hit the firmament.
Oh dear. I don't know how many times I have to tell you lot. Now this was a yo-yo de-spin device. It's used to stop the rocket from spinning so much. You literally ignore our explanations.
One thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth.
There's no place to go.
There is water surrounding us in all directions, including directly above us. We now know that there's something called superfluid that exists. You could have helium-3, and it could actually offer full electromagnetic propagation perpetually without any impedance. Based on the things that I see, such as Crow 777's lunar wave observations, I think that there is clearly a fluid-like medium above us.
Yeah, we debunked that one already. Turns out they were wakes from local airplanes taking off.
The waters above in ancient astronomy, which was the same science as astrology.
Not quite. They were related, but not quite. And besides, modern astronomy is nothing like astrology.
Except one was more theological and one was more secular. They taught that this was called the crystalline sea. And in the book of Revelation, it speaks about the crystalline sea. It's the 9th heaven. The waters above, it's firm.
I think the evidence is pretty overwhelming that there is a fluid-like medium above us.
What I can tell you for sure is the water above is level.
Well, why wouldn't it be if the Earth is level? Oh yeah, that's right. You don't know what level means.
Because all water finds and maintains level.
I feel that's the next wave of enlightenment, is now more and more people realizing as above, so below. And the only way we can get above or below is to go within and tune our frequency to that of which surpasses and passes through.
Not with all the holes in that top, buddy.
Who knows, maybe there is some kind of firmament, and we're underwater. We could be underwater. Maybe there's water above the firmament and then water down here.
That could possibly be why the sky is blue, because behind it is the firmament which holds back water.
Oh my days, he actually said that.
As above, so below. God's throne does not sit on a convex, silly snow globe. Okay, the firmament, the waters above, where he separated the waters below from above, they're flat and level. It's the sky plane. The sky only appears to curve, just like the ground. There is no curvature in the sky. There's no curvature on the earth.
It still amazes me how they can actually say that with such confidence.
Well, Dave, the SpaceX Falcon 9 is going to launch from Vandenberg Air Force Base, and it's going to launch in just about a minute, maybe a little less here. Just see the trail it's leaving behind. Absolutely amazing. And to describe it to you, you can see it, but from the ground. It almost looks as though
some of these rockets look like they're scraping across a watery firmament, kind of like a boat dragging something through the water.
But I thought you couldn't break through to the water. You've literally just been talking about that.
You see what resembles a speedboat going through water. You'll see the rocket hit the firmament, explode like watery, and then it will skim along the surface of the firmament. Why is that? Well, because it's hydrogen. It's water.
Hydrogen is not water, Santos. Dear oh dear, why is it that Santos always makes an appearance? Well, that is it for part 4. I think 2 more parts should seal the deal, but for now, today, we are done and dusted for another one. Thank you so much for watching today. It truly is appreciated. If you enjoyed it, please do consider subscribing to the channel. We are now just over 10,000 away from the 500,000 mark. If we get there by the end of the year, we'll have a big celebration for sure. And of course, if you really enjoyed it, hit that thumbs up too. Just enough time to once again thank Raycon for sponsoring today. Remember, visit buyraycon.com/SiMandan to get that 20% off site-wide and the free shipping. I've been SiMandan. Have yourselves a great weekend, and I'll see you on Tuesday for more of Bart Sobral and the moon landing. See you then.